Well, that was quite the night at Mohawk. It's not over yet, obviously. I'm leaving before Century Invictus. I want to swing by the farm and see how the track looks. We're trying to get trained tomorrow, and I was just informed we have 10 horses training at Mohawk tomorrow. So I'm not going to Mohawk. We're going to train the babies at the farm. I think we'll be able to train the babies at the farm. A few frost holes in the track, but nothing we can't deal with. So I scooted down to the track tonight. I want to see the horses race. Man, that was so frustrating with Aglariam. She certainly looked like she was going to inhale the front runner. She just got out of gear. I saw her get out of gear a couple of times now. I think that's one of the cases where I hope she didn't tie up. I don't think she did. She seemed to empty out pretty good after the race, so I'm not super concerned with that, but it's always a concern with this filly. I think the roughness was a couple of things. The biggest thing was she still has that winter cork on, and we had a talk last week, and I just hate shoeing horses close to the race. And you know what? I went the opposite way in Ohio. Jason and I had talked today about Miami Valley. Now, Southern Ohio has no frost in it. I mean, it's quite a bit warmer there than here. So when we're talking about the winter cork, I said, yes, take it all off all the horses. Trotters get a little bit of borium up front, but all the cork off all the horses. We opted to leave it on Aglariam, and I really think that was the kicker. And the reason I say that is she trotted so quick out of the gate in top speed, she was fine, but switching those gears, a little sticky on the track. You know, the cork was digging in a little bit. That's how I saw it. You know, it's hard for James. James said the filly was loaded. She was going to go a massive mile tonight, but he said she was a little rough. So we'll have the vet look at her. We'll draw her blood, but I don't think there's anything going on there. I think it's mostly, just like I said, just got to get that cork off her, I believe, but we'll see next week. And then Almost There Boss, you know, James has come back to the winner's circle. He looks at me and he goes, this horse is such a jerk sometimes. Because he said, we popped out of the two-hole like he was going to explode, and he just kind of hung out there. I said, James, he's a nice horse, but he's not a very intelligent animal. And I like the horses that are kind of dumb. I do. As I said, if you guys follow a lot of what we do, probably the dumbest horse I ever had in my life was my most favorite horse of all time. And anytime I ever get interviewed and somebody says, who's your favorite horse of all time, their next response is, who? His name was the Big Fred, and he was the dumbest horse ever conceived. By far, the dumbest. But the most lovable horse on earth, and I really took a shine to him, and he meant a lot to me. And Almost There Boss is not a very smart horse at all. Not at all. But he's a nice horse, and he's going to turn into a nice horse, I believe. James said he popped out, and he's like, yeah, but he went back in. And once he sized him up again, and then he took off. And I said to James, you know, if he was a little bit classless, he would have just been a beaten second. But the fact that he did get up and win at least showed that a light bulb of some sort went on in his head. Just a nice horse. You know, in the qualifier, I wheeled him out off dead wood, and he had two horses to look at and try and run down. Tonight, in close quarters, he just wasn't certain. But, you know, it takes time for some of these horses to learn. If you look at Almost There Boss on the track, this is a big, big boy with a big frame and a big engine to feed. And James drove him perfect. I think you're going to see that horse get better and better and better and better and better. Who knows where the end of him is, but I know one thing. He's got a lot of speed. Almost There Boss was impressive. Stonebridge Simba, he always does what he can. You know, he's a true, just a beautiful horse to be around and a nice horse to have anything to do. Stonebridge Simba, he doesn't have $1 million made. You know, he'll end up getting to $250,000 and probably end up being a sire in a little jurisdiction, maybe even the Maritimes, for that matter. But he's just a nice horse. He's an honest racehorse, and no one should or ever would take away from a horse that tries all the time. And Stonebridge Simba has been a good racehorse for us from day one. Just a really likable horse, and he did what he could tonight. Nylander, when he's on his game, is a faster horse than Stonebridge Simba. And Stonebridge Simba isn't ready to go 54 right now, right? That was a good start for him tonight. We got more gear off him. He's wearing very little gear. You know, he wears an open bridle with no head check, a bit burr on the left because sometimes he runs in. Now, I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest with you. He has flip-flops on right now. When we do get them off, he's good for about 5 starts. Then his feet start to hurt him. So I think what we can do is when we get him tight, pull those flip-flops off, race him like 3 times without them, put them back on for a couple weeks, take them back off. I think that's the best way to manage this horse. It seems like anytime we leave flip-flops or pads or bars off him for an extended period of time, it ends up with a quarter crack right front, and it always blows the side out of his wall, and it hurts. And he's no good for about 3 weeks. So managing that area will be very, very important. And I think, as I just outlined to you, probably 3 starts with those flip-flops on. When he's really ready to go a big mile, pop them off. 3 starts without them, and then slide them back on for a couple of weeks. We'll see how that works for a little while. But Stonebridge Simba tried his heart out tonight, and I fully expect that Century Invictus will race good again, or will race good tonight for James. Now, he's in the nominators 2, not the maiden. A little stiffer bunch. James is going to probably be very conservative with him. But I'm excited to see how he's going to race. As I said, I'm not going to stick around for the race myself. I have to get going. Going to swing by the burn, see how the track looks right now. The sun's down now. Maybe I'll walk out on the track and see how it feels. I don't get my shoes dirty, though. I'll swing by and see how it looks. And then hopefully we'll have all the babies training tomorrow. We do have some sick horses, but we will have some horses training tomorrow. I think we got about 7 or 8 scratches for various reasons. In case you guys didn't know, 5 fish species. We're going to give her some time off. Mark calling me. What's he want? We're gonna give her some time off, put her in the pool for a bit. We knew this would happen when we bought this filly. Got to be careful with these knees. Johnny said she wasn't super comfortable today. I sent her to the vet. She said, yeah, a lot of stress on those third carpals, some density changes. No line, no. I reported lines earlier. No cracks. There are some lines that you can see, so we're going to be very careful with her. I think far too much of this filly not to. In the stall for 3 weeks, in the pool for 4 or 5 weeks, and then back in training. That's the plan for Fish. Same with what we did with Absolute Euphoria. Same thing we did with Outlaw Jesse James. Same thing we did last year with a number of horses. It seemed to work well, and we'll continue with what works well. So a good night so far. I don't want to dwell on Aglarion. That won't be the last break she ever makes, but this filly is super fast. She has to be on her game every time she races. She's easily jostled. And you saw that tonight. A little rough in the last turn, a little rough. Jody get up alongside of her, pushed her a little bit more. If James had got her through that last turn, I think she's gone. She jogs. But it doesn't really change the fact that need shod, need to get the corks off her, get her looked at by the vet, take her blood, make sure everything's all right, and then come back for next week. So a decent start to the week so far. I know that Levitor was a little flat last night, 8-hole in a tough spot. Maybe he can read the program a little good too. We got his blood drawn today to see how he was. No free lunch. Got roughed up yesterday. Can't race that horse on the front end. Not like that. So I said to Jason, a few little things we're gonna work on, but make sure the message gets rung through loud and clear. No front end with no free lunch next week. And then obviously big long week coming up for me. Gonna go to Miami Valley for 3+1 on Wednesday, up to Northfield Park to qualify Thursday morning, back for our boy Kings County Thursday afternoon. I'll be home Thursday night by midnight, but I'll be very tired and very muddy by the looks of the forecast. You know how much I hate the rain, and there's lots of it coming. So with that, I'll let you go. As I said, good luck to the Century Invictus crew tonight. Very happy overall. Have a great night.